Hello everyone, my name is Ken from wdrepairsolutions.com, and I hope you'll check out that website. The reason for this message here is to talk to you about a question that was posed to me on one of my YouTube videos. Someone asked me, well, how did I know the thermal fuse was what needed to be checked or tested when they had a Whirlpool dryer that would not start or run? Well, to be honest with you, there's a lot of things that can cause a dryer not to start or run. Probably about 9 of them that I'm going to cover here on this little video. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of them listed there, and I'm going to go through each of them and talk just a little bit about them and why you need to check them. The thermal fuse, by the way, is just one of the most common causes of a dryer not starting or not running. So that's why I made a video on that one along with a couple of other ones that I'll mention as we go through them. Number one on the list, no power or the circuit breaker tripped. I see this all the time. I go out on repair jobs and I'll get there and the circuit breaker's tripped. So I go ahead and trip the circuit breaker back, and then all of a sudden everything works fine. So before you get into all these other testing, make sure you have power at the plug. If you don't have power, it ain't gonna work. The next item to check, number 2 on the list, is the bad door switch. If the dryer thinks the door is open, well, it won't run. So therefore, that's one of the items that does fail commonly, is the door switch. And I do have a video posted on how to test a door switch, so you can refer to that video if you want to check yours. The third item is a bad start switch. Now, the button where you push to start the dryer, if that switch goes bad, of course, that can prevent it from starting and running as well. And there is also a video that I did, it's on my video page, of course, on YouTube, that shows how to check the door switch and how to check the start switch. Alright, the fourth item on there is that bad thermal fuse, which is probably the most common cause. Obviously I have a video posted on how to check it and how to change it out. Otherwise I would have never gotten the question on why I did a video on the thermal fuse. But if all these other things check good, then of course you do want to refer to that video and test the thermal fuse. And when you're doing a thermal fuse, you always want to change out the thermostat that's right next to it as well if the fuse went bad. The thermostat, if it fails, can cause it to heat all the time, and of course that will cause it to overheat, get too hot, thermal fuse will pop to stop it from working anymore, which is a safety feature to keep you from having stuff get so hot that things can catch on fire. Okay, the next item is not as common, but a broken belt or a bad belt switch. On some of the models, there is a belt switch that when you put the tensioner in place and when you're installing the belt, it engages the belt switch to let it know the belt is on there. Well, if your belt breaks on some of those models that do have a belt switch, it's going to disengage the belt switch and shut the dryer down and won't be able to run. So that's something else that you can check for. The next item, shorted or burnt wiring. Now, I've seen this fairly often enough. And a lot of times it's going to be where the terminal block area is, where the 3-prong or 4-prong power cord is attached to the dryer. But it can be also other places within the wiring. Usually it's pretty obvious, because if a wire is burned up, it's all bubbly and crispy, or maybe even burned in too. If you have that happen, go ahead and just replace the whole section of wire with a comparable size wire, and hopefully that'll be the only issue. There wasn't anything else wrong. If there was something else wrong, such as a direct short somewhere, it'll probably do the same thing to the new wire you just installed. But that can be another reason for it not starting. The next item, a bad motor. If you have bad windings in the motor, that can very easily keep it from starting and running. Sometimes the dryer may start and then run for 4 or 5 minutes and then just shut down unexpectedly. That usually indicates that you have a bad winding in that motor and it's overheating and then shutting down automatically. And of course, when it cools back down, sometimes they'll go ahead and run again and start. Sometimes they won't. Usually this is indicated by when you push the start button to start it. It makes a loud buzzing sound. Even if it goes ahead and start and you hear that buzzing sound, your motor's getting ready to go out on you. The next item is the timer itself can be bad. Now, I've had that happen probably 4 or 5 times over the last year on service calls, where inside the timer, the little piece that makes the connection for one of those circuits broke, and therefore it was unable to put power through to start the motor up. So if you have checked everything else, and it could be that timer. Now most timers can be tested using the ohm meter. I don't have a video on it, but you can use your wire diagram that's on the text sheet that's inside the dryer and use that to trace down each circuit of the timer to see if it's actually working or not. If you have, in other words, if you have continuity or not throughout the different cycles. But you have to follow what that text sheet says, and you have to have a little bit of ability to read schematics to do that. The last item on the list is a computer board or control board or dryness control board. If that computer board in there, on some newer models that have computers in them, and there's quite a few of them that do nowadays, if it goes bad, then of course that can prevent it from starting and running as well. One of the ones that I've seen that's kind of acts weird is on the Kenmore 90 series or Elite series dryers. When that board goes bad, sometimes one of the symptoms of that board being bad will be you push the start button and it starts, but as soon as you let go of the start button, it just dies. Well, that's usually going to be that computer board in that case. But anyways, there's about 9 different things that can cause a dryer not to start or run. Most of my videos are geared towards Whirlpool, Kenmore style dryers because that's what I get my hands on the most. But the same techniques and testing techniques and same things pretty much apply to most brands of dryers. So I hope that answers the question for everybody. There's a lot of things you can check and test to try to diagnose what's going on with the dryer when it won't start or run. Have a great day.